Greetings, fellow humans. I'm MartianBuu, and today Untapped GG just released a Pokemon Pocket tier list. And what this does is it takes data from Limitless TCG, the site that tracks all of the tournament results for Pokemon Pocket, and compiles us a list of Pokemon that are doing well in the tournament scene. So what we can do is we can go through, see what's doing well, and click on a popular list to get an idea of how those decks are getting played right now. So first up, in A tier, we have a lot of things that are a lot more close together in percent than I would have expected. I feel like Pikachu EX is one of the strongest decks in the format, and its win rate should be a little bit higher, like past what other decks are at. But we do have Starmie EX here coming up just behind it. So the Pikachu EX deck, we sort by popular here, that's getting, these are some pretty expected to see lists, I think. So you have the Pikachu and the Zapdos, which gets played in almost all of these things. So the Pikachu with its Circle Circuit, 30 damage for each of your benched lightning Pokemon, so 2 for 90, pretty good for a basic. And then Zapdos EX, which is just the second best lightning EX that goes with Pikachu EX. And then from there, you run whatever filler lightning Pokemon you think is the best to just have Pokemon to be able to put on your bench. So this person has chosen Voltorb. Voltorb's pretty good. I think that the Lieutenant Surge build is a more of a just for fun build if you start including Magneton. I've been playing it with just Raichu so that you can attack with Pikachu EX and then Lieutenant Surge. Like use X speed to be able to retreat Pikachu EX for free, send up a Raichu, and then Lieutenant Surge those energies onto the Raichu to take your last point with the Thunderbolt that does all that damage. So that's kind of more of like how I would play it. I do think that this Pincurchin is pretty good. So like Pikachu EX, Zapdos EX, and Pincurchin is probably just fine if you wanted to run a no evolutions build. Then you could start maybe including baby Zapdos or something like that. But like, what you run after Pikachu EX and Zapdos EX really doesn't matter. Then Starmie EX is one that I feel like I'm a little surprised to see it so high. I typically think that the deck is in a vacuum better than the Mewtwo EX deck, but because it has the lightning weakness, it can be a little scuffed. But especially considering Starmie EX is up here with the big boys and Articuno EX is down here in tier 2. The deck is all split up. So it seems like Starmie EX matters in more than Articuno EX. But so I'd really like to see like what does a list look like that doesn't have it? Because Greninja's way lower still. So like if I wasn't going to run Starmie EX with Articuno EX, what would I run it with? And the only answer I can think of is Greninja. So maybe that's just, I don't know. Like, how would Starmie EX be higher and have no partner? Do you just run Staryu and Starmie and nothing else? I don't think so. Are you sure it's about Pokemon? Because the table says archetypes. The archetype for Starmie is not different than the archetype for Articuno, right? So like, it's going off of decks that have Starmie in it. It has to be. That's my opinion, anyways. I don't know. Like, what is an Articuno EX deck that doesn't have Starmie in it, and vice versa? Like this would be with Greninja. Then Greninja, what does that get played in? So I don't know. Anyways, so Starmie EX, we click on popular. This seems like the deck, right? Like this is the normal Articuno Starmie deck that you would play with no bells and whistles. Yeah, this seems, I think this is exactly what I would play if I was going to play Waterbox. And then this is in the popular archetypes. I don't know what's going on over there. That's someone wants to do a Highlander deck. and counter popular archetypes. So you have the Starmie that hits you have the Starmie that hits the Charizard, and then you have this to hit Pikachu, and then you have this to hit. So this isn't like a meta deck, right? What's happening here? So it seems like we start to lose some steam as we go down. But like, just to point out, this is Untapped GG is a site where anyone can just upload a deck, right? And that's what it's showing us. It's pulling the data from a different site, Limitless, which has actual tournament results. And the only reason I'm clicking in here is to show you what people would run with a Starmie. And that's typically what they run, but you can see Articuno's in there too. So what makes the Starmie deck different than the Articuno deck, which is at the top of tier B? So we click on popular and see we're back at the same list again. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So, okay, the solo Articuno deck, the build would slow it down because this is awful, right? So the Articuno only deck is just 2 Articunos, so you always start with it. You run the 2 Misty, which is fine. But then in order to get to 20 cards, you have to start including Red Card, which is terrible for ladder, and Hand Scope, which is terrible always. So this deck would be worse than the Starmie deck, so I could see how this drags the win rate down. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So that's why poor Articuno gets to be in tier B. All right, so then Mewtwo's pretty strong deck. I think it's like, I don't know, the fact that the Starmie deck is so high is pretty validating, because I always think that's the second best deck, but then nobody plays it. It sounds like more people should be. This is the most recent build. That's so funny. But anyways, popular. This seems fine-ish. I like this one better. So this one isn't running Red Card, but I guess like they run Red Card a lot in... This one isn't either. I thought I just saw one. What's the difference between these two? There is no difference. Just 2 people uploaded the same deck separately. But yeah, this is pretty typical. This one does have a Red Card. I'm tripping. So yeah, I like this list better. But this also has a Red Card. They are the same list. This minus this Red Card plus the Sabrina. That's what I would play on ladder. It's so funny. That I don't know. I thought I saw a Red Card, then I saw no Red Cards, and then I saw both Red Cards. Crazy. But yeah, I don't think... I would run minus a Red Card plus Sabrina for ladder. And I see, like, I get how you would want to include Red Card for a tournament. So you'd include it there just so that your opponents are playing around it, because they get to see your deck list. Then there's another... It's just not on here. Oh, here we go. So this person has cut not the card I would have cut. Oh, they just don't have a second Mewtwo. But this Mewtwo here is a nice extra attacker. A, because it's 120 health on a 1-point Pokemon that you can send up to block. You can send that up to block attacks early so that you have the time to like find and evolve your Ralts. But it also deals 120 damage, which is the magic number for Pikachu. So it allows you to pressure Pikachu without giving up 2 points from Mewtwo EX. I wouldn't build the list this way. I would put that Mewtwo EX, or the regular Mewtwo, over the Red Card slot. And with that in the deck, I think Giovanni becomes a little better, because Giovanni allows that Mewtwo to hit the Starmie Zapdos EX mark. So I don't know if I'm gonna do 1 Giovanni, 2 Sabrina, and a Mewtwo, or just sub out the Red Card. But yeah, I definitely don't know why we're going 2 Giovanni, 1 Sabrina in the Mewtwo deck, because you really don't need the Giovanni that much as Mewtwo EX without the baby Mewtwo in it. So anyways, that's kind of what people are playing for Mewtwo. Then we have Charizard. I swear when Mewtwo gets online, it feels unstoppable. It really is. Really is really strong. Charizard here. Okay. This is perfect. No, that has a Pokedex in it. I just didn't want the Arcanine one to go away. Here it is again. Okay, so the Charizard deck, what stinks about this one is you don't have enough cards for your deck because Giovanni doesn't do anything for the second attack. So Crimson Storm is already enough to one-hit knockout literally anything. So you don't need any help from the Giovanni. So we have to run 2 red card if we're going to run Charizard EX. I like putting in 2 fossils there because then you can protect your bench Charmander while you're trying to power it up with Moltres. And if your opponent doesn't make you send up the fossil, you can discard it later once your opponent has already knocked out your Moltres. So you can just sit there with your Charizard and your opponent is forced to knock out the 180 HP giant monster. So it's a way to protect Charmander early from a Sabrina without creating a late game Sabrina liability. And I think that's better than red card on ladder. So I think for a tournament, if you want to run red card so your opponent has to play around it, you could go 1-1 split with that. But I don't think red card does you any good on ladder. I would just run the fossils over that if you're going to run this version. But apparently, this is really good. So we have somebody very recently had a good tournament result with the Arcanine. I played it myself and I wasn't super impressed, but the Arcanine is much faster than Charizard and it hits the Pikachu breakpoint. So you can do 3 for 120, knock out Pikachu is much faster. You run just 1 Growlithe. So you run the 2 Arcanine EX so that if you're powering up Growlithe, you can find it because there aren't any evolution tutors in the deck right now. But you only have 1 Growlithe, so you're not drawing it instead of Moltres and Charmander with your Pokeball. Basically, that's what I assume the logic is. It's basically an alternate attacker. So somebody had some recent success with this. I'm not convinced quite yet. I feel like the biggest reason to run this build is because the main build doesn't have 20 cards that it wants to run. So I don't know. But that's like, I wanted to mention it because people are playing that. So yeah, we've made it through tier 1. We looked at Articuno EX, and then Greninja is interesting. So like, go to popular. Usually you just run that with, oh, people are running such interesting stuff. So does the Greninja include all of the like non-water box archetypes? I guess I've seen Greninja wheezing before. Is that what this deck is? It's like Greninja, Second Strike, wheezing. Is that really that good? I asked the people about it and they say it's based on archetypes. So like what distinguishes the Greninja archetype from just water box? And it looks like it must be this Bruxel thing. So yeah, I guarantee you this is not a good deck, right? Like the Dragonite, well, you know, like that's, if you look at the tier list, it's like way at the bottom. But yeah, so it must just be this like Bruxel Greninja wheezing thing. Interesting. But that makes it into B tier apparently. And then is Arcanine EX its own archetype, or is it like the Charizard list that plays an Arcanine in it? Hard to say for sure. It must just be the Charizard list that has the Arcanine in it, because I don't see anybody running Moltres Arcanine, do you? Like out there somewhere? Maybe I've seen this before, actually. Is this what the Arcanine deck is? Is you run Arcanine and Aerodactyl. I think I've seen this before. Didn't that end up somewhere? But yeah, I think if you're playing Arcanine, it usually ends up being just part of the Charizard deck. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of this Aerodactyl stuff, so that must be it. But you can see it's like barely hanging on to B tier. It almost falls off. All right, so then you get into C tier, and that's full of some stuff. I'm surprised we didn't see. So, like, if this Greninja deck is the Weezing Greninja deck, then that must be like Weezing making it into tier 2. But I'm surprised. I feel like the Weezing is better than just being in the obscure weirdo decks tier. People always talk about this one as being like better than I rate it, but like I really don't think so. I think it's kind of mid. The problem with Ninetales, so they use the Ninetales, it's 2 for 90. You discard an energy from the Ninetales, and you can use Blaine to get it up to 120, which is pretty good against Pikachu. And it 2-shots things, right? So you'll 2-shot Mewtwo easy peasy with this. The problem is it only has 90 health, and because you have to discard the energy every turn, you can't be powering up something else while you're powering up this, which means you're forced to attack with something like Rapidash afterwards, which does 40 to 70 maximum. And I don't think it's very good. So like it has its moments. It's not like a bad deck. Obviously, you can tell from this that like people are doing okay in tournaments with it, but I don't think it's a great deck. I swear, discarding energy cards feel so bad if they die. Yeah. So I don't know. Like if you can keep powering up the Ninetales, it's great. It works better on a Moltres deck. I don't think it has enough health for that. Like, so you're going to attach an energy to the Moltres. Say you flip 2 heads. The Ninetales is ready to go plus energy for next turn. And then if you have X speed, you can retreat the Moltres into the Ninetales. I feel like you just attack with the Ninetales in that spot. Anyways, if you're like waiting a lot of time to put a bunch of energy on something, you really want it to be a Charizard that soaks up all that energy. Because like this is 90 health. If you stacked a bunch of energy on the Ninetales and it dies, it just dies. So the Blaine deck I think is, it's all right, but I don't think it's great. And that's kind of supported by this. Blastoise pretty high in the C tier. I feel like the Ninetales is closer to the B tier than the other stuff in C tier is closer to the Ninetales, but I guess we're cutting it off at 50%. So Blastoise actually does feel kind of good because it has like, it's another one of those Pokemon that has an absurd amount of health because it's a stage 2, and it is knocking out most things once it gets going. The problem with this is it's a deck that relies on getting a certain amount of head flips with Misty, and if you need more than like 1 head flip with Misty, I think your deck's in trouble, because like Blastoise really needs 5 to be good. So I could see like if you get a couple head flips with Misty, Blastoise feels like an incredibly strong deck, but if you get all tails or only 1 heads, you're kind of slow. Marowak. Everyone loves Marowak. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm feeling a little validated to see this number so down, because this is another one that I think gets pushed harder than it actually is. Because is it really that much of a Pikachu counter? You have to flip 2 heads to knock out Pikachu, and if you flip 2 heads, you knock out everything. So like, it's not really a Pikachu counter, is it? I don't think that makes much sense. And wow, this is Dark Fighting. It's the most popular build on the site. Interesting. I think this is a better way to build it, but I'm not in love with any of it. I just think it's kind of a mid deck, right? Like it's okay. I don't like, I think this is supposed to be the other Mankey, at least before. I don't know if they fixed it, but if you input the event Mankey on this site, it shows up as this Mankey. So this is supposed to be the 50 HP one that has 1 fighting for 30 and deals 10 to itself, so you can set up the Primate. The Primate does more damage if it's damaged. So like that Mankey is pretty decent for pressuring a Pikachu, right? Like you can hit with the Mankey and the Pikachu has already taken half its health, pretty much. And you finish off with this. But even then, that's just overkill, right? Like, weakness doesn't even matter. Knock out Voltorbs and stuff with it. Anyways, I don't think this is really a Pikachu EX counter, and you can tell, I think, from the stats that it isn't. I don't know what's happening over here. That's interesting. I think this is kind of more what I would run if I was going to run a Marowak deck. I don't know about the Farfetch'd. I think I would just run... Well, I like running Onyx, right? Like Onyx with Brock. I think that's okay. So that's probably what I would run, but that's not anywhere here. Then Wigglytuff, which is probably Wiggly Weezing for the most part. But I did see a build that had the Greninja. So here's that Singleton deck again. Wigglytuff with Starmie. I don't know about that. This is what I would expect to see from a Wigglytuff deck, is Wigglytuff and Weezing. I don't really agree with this far-fetched inclusion here, but maybe it's okay. I kind of like the Baby Wiggly, like just because there aren't any evolution tutors and you want to have something. There's a new Jigglypuff, same deal as the Mankey, where this site just doesn't show it, but it has 50 health and 1 for Sing. You put the defending Pokemon asleep. Are any of the new event Pokemon good? This one. So, like, well, the one that this should be, right? 50 health, 1 for Sing, the defending Pokemon is asleep. Hey, Blue Train. So this is kind of similar to what I'd run, I guess. So I would definitely cut to Farfetch'd myself. Oh, there's no Giovanni in here. I think... Am I a 2 Koga believer? I think in my list, I was running none of these 3 cards. And I was running the second Sabrina and 2 Giovanni. But I kind of like this Wigglytuff, actually. So I'd probably cut... Probably only have 1 Giovanni or 1 Koga, depending. I don't know where all this 1 Sabrina stuff is coming from. I see a lot of lists only running 1. I think it's a 2Z for most things. But anyways, that's kind of what Wigglytuff deck would look like. So then we have Machamp EX. Machamp EX. What am I champion? Oh, so that's this high, huh, Machamp? It's kind of funny. I've never seen a competitive Machamp list. This is news to me. So your guess is as good as mine is if these are the right lists to go with them. This is Machamp with just Marowak. It's Machamp with Dugtrio. That seems better. Interesting. I guess this would be kind of a Pikachu tech deck. Yeah, I could see it. I would definitely run 2 Giovanni. Like, this person over here only has 1. But I would run 2 just so you could hit Starmie and Zapdos in 1 hit. But maybe that's good. It probably gets, like, absolutely destroyed by Mewtwo, right? Because Mewtwo can actually Giovanni and one-shot this thing. And they're running the Giovanni for other reasons anyway. So it's not like they'd have to tech it. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty far down on the list, right? So it's not like it's that good of a deck. But I'm a little surprised to see it as high as it is. Arbok, which I'm a little surprised is so low. Because I kind of thought it was good. But, well, Arbok only with Weezing. Arbok, Weezing, Geo, and they have a red card. So yeah, if I was going to play this deck, it would be minus red card plus Giovanni. But I play on ladder, so I can see how you have a red card for the tournaments. Where do these win rates come from? So they get the win rates from Limitless TCG. So Limitless TCG, I think I had a window of them open a second ago. Unless I didn't. Yeah. So Limitless TCG is this site. And you can look at various tournaments and see how things did. So this tier list is looking at these deck lists. But like, I don't know where to find the various decks that are showing up, right? There's a lot here. So this one has a 1,000 people in it. 1,000 people tournament. So what am I looking at now? I'm looking at Arbok. I think Arbok is the Arbok Weezing. I know that made waves a little while ago, but I guess it's kind of fallen off, which doesn't super surprise me because like Pikachu only needs a Giovanni to knock out Arbok. It's not like that's not happening. So yeah, what's nice about it is it's dark, so the Mewtwo is weak to it. You can two-shot Mewtwo's, and theoretically you can corner a Pikachu, and that's half the Pikachu's health. The Pikachu can only deal 90 to the Arbok, so you get to corner it again and knock it out in 2 hits. But they just Giovanni you and it gets knocked out. So, and then like once you've invested in Arbok, all you have are Weezings left over. So I don't know, I think it's a little awkward, but it's good enough, right? Like I had fun with it. I'm just surprised it's behind all this other stuff. Like Blastoise, Marowak, and Machamp are all ahead of the Arbok, which all surprises me. Then we have Exeggutor. Now that's something. So we have Exeggutor with Butterfree, which I've played before, and it felt about as good as it is. The problem with the Exeggutor as your only attacker is its damage output is pretty low, right? It's 1 for 40, and then sometimes you get to do 80. And 80 damage as max output is also kind of low, right? It's not like it has a second attack that you can build towards. Like if it had 3 for 90 or something like that, even, at least you have something to build towards with your tropical swings. But you know, it's not like you have a second thing to back it up. And then, so this is kind of like if you were going to do that, you have the Venusaur EX as your backup, and you're swinging with the Exeggutor in the meantime. And I think that's a little bit better. But then what's the Venusaur deck? So yeah, Venusaur is already, I think, a whole tier down from that, right? Like this is the last of tier C, is the Exeggutor. So I would assume if the Exeggutor EX and the Venusaur EX are distinct archetypes, then the Exeggutor deck is Exeggutor Butterfree, and Venusaur EX is Venusaur Exeggutor. Is Arbok just a meta counter? Kind of, yeah. Here we have people running Scyther and Butterfree. Okay, so I don't like that list. Hold on, let's go to popular. So yeah, this is a list that gets played a lot. I wonder if this is the list they mean. So like Lilligant, which is 2 for 50, and then you can attach a grass energy to one of your bench Pokemon. Why I don't like the Lilligant is because it only has 100 health, so it dies to just about everything, and it requires you to put 2 energies on it to be able to then put 1 onto the Venusaur, right? You could have just attached those 2 energies to the Venusaur and be that farther along. So this thing has to attack twice pretty much before you're happy you did it. I don't know. I don't really see it. So when I play Venusaur, I typically run the Exeggutor as my early tank and the Venusaur as my late tank. And that kind of helps out both directions. But it looks like not a lot of people are doing that anymore. This person's gone both. Where's that Limitless page? Let's see if we can find an Exeggutor on here anywhere. But it's pretty far down, right? Like the Exeggutor is at the bottom of tier C, and Venusaur is at the bottom of at the top of tier D. So it's just not going to be very good. Oh my, look how, like, I remember the first week that they had these tournaments. I think the Venusaur EX deck won, and everyone thought it was going to be such a great deck, but then, you know, it didn't last. So that's that. What's left? I think we're only down to 2 more left. That was Venusaur. Now we have Alakazam, which again is another one I'm surprised to see low compared to some others. I feel like Alakazam, I had success with Alakazam Weezing. I don't know about Alakazam Weezing Meowth, but like the deck I played was a lot more like this. Like minus Meowth plus this. Maybe you want a Kangaskhan or something there, but like Weezing is your tank, right? So you can't believe Venusaur won one. Well, it was really early, right? And they weren't as big as some of these other ones. I think it was like a 200-person tournament, but I might be making that up. But yeah, so like the whole point of Weezing is to be a tank, so I don't think you need another tank, right? And not that this is a tank, but like another early Pokemon to absorb blows. Like you just want to get out your coughing and your wheezing and have that chip away while you power up in Alakazam. But so I would go minus Meowth here plus Giovanni, but then I think this is the exact list I would play otherwise. So I don't know. When I played this, I did well with it. Like I thought the Weezing Alakazam deck was kind of decent, but you know, it's just not performing in tournaments. Yeah, it looks like pretty much everything anybody's doing. I saw like an Alakazam Greninja deck at some point, but that's 2 stage 2s. It seems brutal. And then finally we have Dragonite, favorite deck of Marshy. I can't get people on Baby Articuno. I feel like Baby Articuno is so much better than like the Dark deck gets played a lot, right? Like Weezing as a tank for Dragonite, but I don't think that's any good. Like I would even play Frostmoth before I'd play that now. Not that build, obviously, but yeah. So like, I think Frostmoth is probably better than Weezing, but not by much. Like, see, here we go. Here we go. This person knows what's up. They've also got the Kangaskhan in. That's probably fine. I think that's probably fine. The Kangaskhan. I had fossils in there most recently, but I don't like the fossils in the Misty Dragonite deck as much as I like them in the Charizard deck. So Kangaskhan's probably good. You wish Dragonite was better. It's so funny. I think it's good enough. Like I love playing the Dragonite deck. It's fun. I do like this though, like with the Kangaskhan over the fossils. I think this is the exact list I would play, except it has that sub. So that's pretty good. But yeah, it's way at the bottom. It's just a funny deck. So yeah, this seems like it looks like they're gonna make it even better, right? Like they're gonna work on this and make it even better. Oh, cool. Archetypes with win rates within 1 standard deviation of the best archetype. Archetypes with win rates better than or equal to the average. Archetypes with win rates worse than the average and within 1 standard deviation of the best archetype in this tier. Archetypes with win rates worse than 1 standard deviation from the best C tier archetype. Interesting. Okay. So you have that thing at the bottom. I missed that. But yeah, it sounds like this is round 1 of the Pokemon Pocket tier list for Untapped. And they're just going to improve on that moving forward. So pretty cool, I guess. I think they're going to work on linking to the actual tournament list. You know, like right now it can only link to stuff they have with the card in it. But I think they're going to try to work towards linking to actual tournament lists, and that'll be pretty cool.